We don't need useless people who slack off at work. Finish all the tasks in 30 minutes. When she said that, I couldn't help but stare at the papers roughly thrown in front of me. When I picked them up and checked the contents, it was quite a workload. Certainly, under normal circumstances, it would be difficult to complete in 30 minutes, even an hour. If done poorly, it could easily lead to overtime. You can do it, right, if you say you are properly doing your job. That's what she wanted. She looked at me and gave a sly smile. Yes, I understand. I nodded at Joan with a smile and started working. For me, this won't even take 30 minutes. Well, that was fast. I heard her say that, but I ignored it and finished the work at top speed. After all, I've been recognized for my skills and have been sent not just across the country but overseas as well. This much, I can finish in no time. Then, I finished everything in 3 minutes and smiled at her again. No way, who are you? She looked at me in disbelief. My name is James Johnson. I'm just an ordinary office worker. Currently, I'm stationed overseas, working hard as the local manager. I don't have any kids, but I live happily with my wife. James, please don't overwork yourself. My wife, Patricia, is a very kind and beautiful woman. I was really happy to be with someone like her, and the days we spent together were full of joy. Even without kids, as long as I had her, I was content. James, there's a job I want you to take on. I'm working at a company run by my childhood friend, John Smith. John has always been a free spirit, and I've constantly been dragged along by him. James, there's something interesting going on over there, let's go. Hey, wait a minute, well, I guess I have no choice. Everything he did was fresh and very fun. That's why. Even now, I'm helping out at his company. My dream is to create a company that makes as many people as possible smile. More than anything, his dream had become my dream too. So, it wasn't hard to travel all over the country. I'm looking forward to the transfers because I can see different scenery with you. Patricia, who came along with me, used to say that with a smile. Now, I'm working at a foreign branch for certain reasons. At first, it was tough just to interact with the locals, but now we're on friendly terms, joking around. My days are busy, but it keeps me from thinking about sad things. All right, let's work hard for lots of smiles today too. 10 years flew by as I worked. One day, I got a call from John, who was at the main office in New York. You're still doing great, James. I'm really glad to have you as my subordinate. What do you want? You only compliment me when you need something. Oh, you caught me. Hearing his amused laugh, I replied, how long do you think we've known each other? John, being the free spirit he is, contacts me without considering when I'd receive the message. But when he adjusts for the time difference, I know he has a request. Thanks to you, the overseas branch is pretty settled now. Can you come back to the main office? That was his request. I've already been away from the US for 10 years. Mixed feelings of why now, and wanting to see old friends battled within me. All right, since it's a direct request from the boss. I knew you'd say that. After some thought, I decided to return to the main office. I took care of various procedures, entrusted the overseas branch to a reliable subordinate, and prepared to return. First time in 10 years, I should pay some visits. I rented an apartment near the office and set foot in the main office after a long time. It's been 10 years since I last came to this main office. Before my overseas assignment, I worked at the main office for about a year, but since then, I've been rotating through the overseas branches. Long time no see, James. Oh, it's you, Mary. Long time no see. I was thinking of greeting John, the CEO, first when his secretary called out to me in the entrance. She is Mary Williams. She's my junior, and I taught her how to work back in the day. Long time no see, Mary. Where's John? Well, the CEO is currently on a business trip to Nebraska. Hearing her apologetic words, I couldn't help but feel exasperated. calling me back from overseas only to be away on a business trip himself. Sometimes I can't understand his thinking. Even as his childhood friend, he's as free-spirited as ever. It's really a problem. She must be having a hard time with him as well. She sighed as if her head hurt at my words. After that, Mary took over for John and gave me a tour. This main office had been renovated after I left, and the departments had been relocated. So, she explained everything to me. Who is that? Along the way, I made eye contact with a woman. She looked somewhat familiar. I couldn't help but stare at her. Then, she glared at me and quickly walked away. I guess it was rude to stare at her like that. I wanted to introduce you to her. While I was thinking this, Mary said regretfully, apparently, that woman is Joan, John's daughter. Now that you mention it, I think I met her when she was a child. I recall John had a daughter he doted on. He once told me that the reason he stayed at the main office was to be close to her. I had only met his daughter when she was little since I was always busy traveling. She's grown up. That sounds like an old man talking. I couldn't help but laugh at Mary's quick retort to my muttering. Then, Mary gave me a tour, and finally, I entered the CEO's office. We discussed my future work, and then I left for the day. I saw Mary and Joan today. They're both beautiful. I reported this to Patricia when I got home. She just smiled back at me as always. The next day, I went to the office and immediately started working. The department I was assigned to had many young people, none of whom I recognized. Hey, Johnson, you're older than me, right? Yeah, I guess so. How old are you? While I was doing the work assigned to me, Robert Jones, a co-worker in the same department, asked me. Not sure why he asked my age, I tilted my head and answered honestly. Then he burst out laughing. 45, you're more than 10 years older than me. Can they really use such an old guy? Robert mocked me, realizing he must be around 30 if I'm more than 10 years older. That's not how you should treat your elders. But I figured that's how young people are these days and didn't let it bother me. What are you all making a fuss about? I turned to see Joan standing there, her voice icy. Robert saw her and gave a nervous laugh. Oh, Johnson said something funny. Anyway, back to work for me. With that, he quickly returned to his desk. Joan glared at me. Did I do something to deserve that? What is your relationship with Mary? What? You seemed quite close, walking together yesterday. It's true that when she saw us yesterday, Mary was standing next to me. She must be referring to that. Oh, I've known her for a long time. Yesterday was my first day, and she was showing me around. There was nothing to hide, so I explained honestly. She seemed to ponder this for a moment. I don't know what your relationship is, but don't get too comfortable. Too comfortable. Mary is a wonderful person, but she's single. However, she's always had someone she cares about. With that, Joan walked away. I tilted my head, wondering what her warning was about. Mary isn't married. She looks so young and beautiful for someone in her 30s. I thought she'd be married by now. Come to think of it, she wasn't wearing a ring. Muttering to myself as I remembered her left ring finger. I thought how men these days have no taste and went back to work. I've ended up in quite a difficult department. I blamed John in my heart. Maybe because I was thinking that I got a call from John that night. This feels nostalgic, but you call me back from overseas and you're not even here. Sorry, I was asked to personally come to Nebraska. By the way, Nebraska is huge and has so much great food. I wanted to complain more, but listening to him talk, I lost the urge. I listened to his cheerful voice, feeling a bit exasperated. I won't be back for a while. Look after my daughter. Your daughter hates me. He hung up. John hung up without hearing my side. I regretted not complaining more. The following days were quite tough. Hey old man, can you even use a computer? Don't slow us down. Robert treated me like an old man, and Joan silently glared at me every day. It seemed like the stress from the human relationships was going to be worse than the work. Maybe I should take a break. I decided to take a break and stepped into the hallway to do another task, and I heard Robert's voice. He was chatting with other co-workers. I guess the boss's daughter thinks of work more as a game. He must be talking about Joan. Robert was mocking Joan with a disdainful tone. She's always making mistakes and dumping her work on others, acting all high and mighty just because she's the boss's daughter. It's beyond annoying. It's ridiculous. Talking like that in the hallway where anyone could hear. I silently despised Robert as I pretended not to hear and walked past. Compared to her, Mary is a real catch. No matter how much I try to impress her, she never wavers. She's a competent woman. When I returned to my desk after my break, Robert still hadn't come back. Now that I think about it, Robert is always either bothering someone or out on a break. When does he even work? Where is this? Meanwhile, Joan was glaring at her computer at her desk. Being the CEO's daughter, she seemed somewhat isolated. It was clear from the stack of work beside her that she wasn't making much progress. It's true that some of the documents from Joan had mistakes or were past due, so Robert might not be entirely wrong. However, she still showed a willingness to work. Done with your break? Lost in thought, I was startled by Joan's cold voice. She was still glaring at me. Coming here at such an inconvenient time. You probably got fired from your last job, right? You always look like you have nothing to do and goof off all the time. I was momentarily speechless, not understanding her words. It's true that I occasionally leave the department to look around the company. Maybe that's why she misunderstood. But I only do it after finishing my work to handle another task. Just as I was about to explain, a stack of work documents was thrown in front of me with a thud. We don't need useless people who slack off. Finish all this work in 30 minutes. She said, and I stared at the roughly tossed documents. When I picked them up and checked the contents, it was quite a workload. Certainly, under normal circumstances, it would be difficult to complete in 30 minutes, even an hour. If done poorly, it could easily lead to overtime. You can do it, right, if you say you are properly doing your job. That's what she wanted. She looked at me and gave a sly smile. Yes, I understand. I nodded at Joan with a smile and started working. For me, this won't even take 30 minutes. That was fast. I heard her say that, but I ignored it and finished the work at top speed. After all, I've been recognized for my skills and have been sent not just across the country but overseas as well. I could finish this in no time. Then, I wrapped it all up in 3 minutes and smiled at her again. No way, who are you? She looked at me in disbelief. Seeing her wide-eyed stare, I smiled and glanced around. A few people on the floor were watching us. Joan, I'll help you with your work. Can we talk after we're done? Okay. After work, I met with Joan in a conference room to discuss things. Thanks to my help, Joan's backlog of work was cleared up. Because of that, she seemed more confused than her usual cold self. I heard you were fired from your last job because you were incompetent, and that's why you joined this company. What, is that the rumor going around? Joan nodded at my question. Since she, an isolated figure, had heard it, the rumor must have spread quite a bit. I smiled wryly and explained that I had been stationed overseas and had worked at the main office until 10 years ago. Her face turned pale. Wait, are you my father's childhood friend? Yes, I am. I'm terribly sorry. When I nodded, she bowed repeatedly, almost prostrating herself. I managed to calm her down and continue our conversation. I've heard about you from my father, but he always referred to you as my childhood friend, so I didn't know your name. And I've never seen your picture. Don't worry about it. I have an aversion to photos and haven't taken any in the past 10 years. So, it made sense that she didn't recognize me. But John, you could have at least mentioned my name. If you are my father's childhood friend, then Mary's. What, Mary? Never mind, it's nothing. She seemed about to say something but then shook her head. Now, let me ask a question. Joan, why did you think I got laid off? Well, Robert said so. It seems Robert is the cause. Robert has been spreading all sorts of rumors. He's been saying I was incompetent at my previous job, caused problems, and got laid off. Yet, I got into this company because I have dirt on John, the CEO. That's why I get away with slacking off. He also said the reason the CEO is on a long business trip now is to avoid seeing me. That's what he was saying. And you believed him, Joan? Yes, Robert said. I have a friend who worked at his previous company, so it's true. I've been dedicated to this company since I graduated from college. Yet, Robert claims he learned this from a friend at another company. It seems he's a big liar. Of course, my father never said that. But he's always been the type to hide things from me to avoid causing worry, so I thought he might be hiding it. I've known him since childhood, so I do know his secrets, but he's not the type to be blackmailed. Joan looked surprised. Is he hiding his free-spirited nature from his daughter? I wondered. Then, I shared some memories of John with Joan, who wanted to hear about her father. John always dragged me into his antics. In school, he would pull pranks that skirted the rules. As soon as he got his driver's license, he took me on a road trip across the country. I got roped into cleaning up his messes so often that people started calling me his babysitter. Joan laughed at these stories. That's surprising. He's always putting on a cool front around me and never shows any weakness. John dotes on you, Joan. He probably can't stand to look bad in front of you. Seeing her laugh, she didn't seem like the bad person Robert described. I needed to hear more. Can you tell me more about your situation, Joan? Actually, according to her, she had been bullied almost to the point of hazing. Without much thought, she mentioned on her first day that she was the CEO's daughter, which led to her being ostracized. No one taught her how to do the job, so she couldn't perform well. Even in that situation, Robert, who was supposed to be her mentor, told her, if you act weak, they'll bully you more. So, she adopted a tough attitude, which only made things worse. By the time I realized it, only my father and Mary were on my side. From her story, I understood why I was called back from overseas. There was only one thing to do. Joan, how about proving Robert and the others wrong? What? Joan looked at me in confusion. Then, I used my breaks to teach her my techniques. I've been a bit tough on you, but you're keeping up well. That's because your teaching is excellent, Johnson. Being naturally talented, she quickly improved her skills. Learning more efficient methods gave her more time, reducing her mistakes to almost zero. I also coached her on her attitude, making her demeanor much softer. James, can I talk to you for a moment? One day, Mary called out to me. She looked worried. I heard a rumor that you and Joan are in a relationship. That's absolutely not true. I'm devoted to my wife. When I immediately denied the rumor, Mary looked conflicted. However, she quickly changed her expression and looked at me intently. Please let me help too. In that case, can I ask you for one favor? Mary nodded firmly at my words and agreed to help. Not long after that, Joan and I managed to secure a major contract that would significantly impact the company. Thanks to you, Johnson. No, it's because of your thorough preparation, Joan. Because of this, everyone started paying attention to Joan in a different way. However, not everyone was happy about this. That was just a coincidence. It was Robert. He started harassing us even more, calling me an old man and Joan an ignorant heiress, but it was pointless to engage with him. We completely ignored him and focused on our work. Apparently, this made him even more irritated. Finally, Robert insulted us in front of everyone. You two must be in a relationship, right? That contract was probably secured by that sneaky old man using the frivolous heiress. Whose daughter is a slut? Whose childhood friend is sneaky? And what kind of relationship are you talking about? Our eyes turned to the entrance at the sound of the voice. It was John, the CEO. When I silently reproached him for being late, he mouthed, "Sorry." CEO and childhood friend. He, James Johnson, has been a close friend for years and has been working overseas for this company. Robert turned pale at John's words. John gave him a stern look. "I brought him here to this underperforming department, which has been plagued with rumors, to turn things around." I hadn't heard about any plans for restructuring. I shot a questioning look at John, but he avoided my gaze. "We have proof that you spread those rumors." Mary, who had been standing behind John, stepped forward and pressed the play button on a voice recorder. It played a recording of Robert loudly spreading false rumors and boasting about trying to get us fired. Now it was my turn to reveal something. In fact, I had given him another task. "What do you mean?" "Robert Jones, you've been embezzling money, haven't you?" I presented the evidence I had gathered right in front of him. Recently, there had been suspicious money movements in this department, and I had been assigned here to investigate. It turned out Robert was the embezzler and was also pushing his work onto others. I handed all this evidence to John. We'll be considering your punishment, so look forward to it." John cut Robert off sharply as he tried to make excuses. Robert collapsed to his knees. "I won't forgive you either," Jones said, glaring at Robert. That night, John invited me out for drinks. "You've always dragged me into your messes. If you are going to involve me, at least explain the situation." "Sorry, I'm so sorry." When I voiced the complaints I couldn't say earlier, he just laughed and apologized. That part of him hasn't changed. Well, maybe that's why I always forgive him. "So, about Patricia." I froze at the mention of her name. "I was going to ask if you've finally moved on, but it seems like you haven't." I nodded at his words. "The reason I was sent overseas was because Patricia had passed away. Japan held too many memories of her, so I fled overseas. It's been 10 years since Patricia passed away. 10 years ago, I was working tirelessly at the main office. That day, even on our wedding anniversary, I worked late and got home later than planned. I'm home, sorry for being late, Patricia." I came home with her favorite cake and a necklace she had wanted as an apology. But what greeted me was Patricia collapsed in the kitchen. I called an ambulance immediately, but it was too late. "It's my fault, if only I'd come home earlier." "It wasn't your fault. I should have made you leave work early and come home." Every day after that, I regretted not coming home on time. I had a gaping hole in my heart and threw myself into work, skipping meals and sleep to drown my sorrow. "Take a break, you're going to collapse too." I can't. Everywhere I go is filled with memories of Patricia, and I can't help but blame myself. Work is the only thing that distracts me. If I stop working, I see her face. If I sleep, I relive that day in my dreams. Living like that, my body wasted away. "James, if you stay in Japan, you're going to break down. Please accept this proposal." So, I was offered an overseas assignment, the only place without memories of Patricia. Living abroad was unfamiliar, but it allowed me to temporarily forget my sorrow. With counseling from a local doctor, I slowly began to turn those memories into something more bearable. "I'm grateful to you, John. You sent me overseas, which allowed me to return and visit Patricia's grave. I can see her face now." I took out my phone and showed a picture of Patricia, smiling as always. "James, I want you to be happy. It's time to look forward and find happiness. I'm sure Patricia would want that too." I smiled and shook my head at John's words. Patricia was still in my heart, and I couldn't ignore that and move on just for my own happiness. A few days later, "Thanks to you, Johnson, I've changed. I'd like to treat you to dinner as a thank you." Joan invited me. I initially refused, but she was insistent, so I reluctantly agreed. When I arrived at the meeting place, "Oh, Mary." "What, James?" Standing there wasn't Joan but Mary. Mary was just as surprised to see me, and after talking, we found out that Joan had invited both of us to dinner. Did we just get set up? Seems like it. I'll have a word with her. Since we're already here, let's just go to the restaurant she reserved. So, our plans changed, and Mary and I ended up having dinner together. It turned out to be a calm and enjoyable time. And the night view was breathtaking. Wow, I'd love to see it someday. We chatted and laughed over dinner. I found her looking even cuter than usual, enjoying herself so much. James. As we left the restaurant, she called out to me. She took a deep breath and looked straight at me. I like you, James. And with that, she confessed her feelings. Could it be that the person Joan mentioned she had feelings for was me? Honestly, I'm flattered that she feels that way about me. But I can't forget about Patricia. I'm sorry. Of course, I knew. She smiled sadly at my words. That expression made my heart ache, but I ignored it and parted ways with her. Mr. Johnson, can I talk to you for a moment? On the next workday, Joan called me over. I heard what happened. Why did you turn her down? Because there's someone I can't forget. I know that, but do you think staying stuck in the past is what your wife would have wanted? Her words left me speechless. I knew better than anyone that Patricia wouldn't want me to be like this. Surely, she would tell me to forget about her and be happy. Thinking that, I remembered Mary's smile. James, I may not be much help, but please let me support you. 10 years ago, as her mentor, I taught her a lot, and she looked up to me. And when I lost Patricia, she tried to support me alongside John. I'm not very experienced yet. But I will grow by the time you return. If you haven't found someone else by then, please accept my feelings. I vaguely remembered her saying that before I left Japan. Sometime later. James. Mary. As I was leaving the office to go home, I ran into her. Mary's eyes darted around for a few seconds before she gave a weak smile. My heart ached again, and just as I was about to speak and fulfill that promise. Good job today. Please go home and get some rest. Mary said quickly and started to walk away. Just as I was about to chase after her, I noticed a shadow looming behind her. Mary. What? My warning came too late. Mary was already being pushed into the street. Before I could think, my body moved on its own, shielding her. Immediately, I felt a sharp impact. James. In the midst of the pain and fading consciousness, I heard Mary calling my name. So, this is it. I'm going to join Patricia. Just as I closed my eyes, I heard a voice. No, you can't. You're not happy yet. It felt like Patricia was speaking to me. James, you're awake. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital. The first thing I saw was Mary, crying. Seeing her like that made me feel guilty, but at the same time, I couldn't help but think how beautiful she looked. James, I'm glad you're awake. A little while after I woke up, John, who had been informed by the hospital, rushed to my side. Then he told me what had happened. It was Robert who tried to push Mary into the street. Apparently, Robert had been interested in Mary for a long time and had been pursuing her persistently. However, Mary had feelings for me, which made her cold towards Robert. To win her over, Robert even tried to buy her affection with embezzled money, but she rejected him. Then, when I exposed his embezzlement, he snapped. It seems he realized how Mary looked at you, James. In his desperation, he went on a rampage, thinking if he couldn't have her, no one could. I intervened just in time. Robert was subdued by passers-by and arrested on the spot. I settled for a deal and fired him after he returned all the embezzled money. I'm really sorry, this is all my fault. It's not your fault, so stop apologizing. But because of that, your leg. I smiled wryly at his words. I hadn't felt my legs since I woke up. The doctor said I'd likely never walk again. It's okay, I'm alive, and that's what matters. I smiled again. More genuinely this time. After they left, I looked down at my legs. I'm glad I didn't mention the promise. With these legs, I couldn't accept her feelings and be her partner. I couldn't make her happy. I murmur to myself and close my eyes. This is for the best. I can't drag her into my life now. I didn't realize someone had overheard my mutterings. James, there's something I need to tell you. The next day, Mary came to visit and took my hand. I was taken aback, eyes wide. I love you, James. Please accept my feelings this time. But my legs. It doesn't matter. I love you for who you are. Besides, I heard from Joan. Apparently, Joan had overheard my muttering yesterday and told her. So she decided to confess her feelings to me again. Hearing that made me want to be with you even more. I want to be happy with you, James. Let me be your legs. At her words, I gave in. I squeezed her hand in return. Today's your first day back, right? Good morning. Good morning. I'm now working from a wheelchair. And of course, it's Mary who's pushing my wheelchair. During my recovery, we grew even closer and promised to get married. I'm glad it worked out. I really wanted you both to be there. Attend. It seems Joan is also getting married. She's engaged to someone she's been dating since college, and both families have already met. So that's why she looked so dazed when she visited me. Thinking about me and his beloved daughter's wedding must have been overwhelming for John. We laughed, imagining his inner turmoil. Hey, looks like you're having fun. James, come to the president's office. I have something I want you to do. John called out, looking like he had a lot on his mind. So, we headed to the president's office. In light of your situation, we're expanding into welfare. I'd like you to be the CEO of a subsidiary. At this sudden proposal, I grinned. I'll consider it if I can take Mary with me. As expected, but it's tough to lose her. With a look of reluctant acceptance, John nodded. I smiled at him. But wait a moment, I want to get married to her first. Is that so? In that case, I'll wait as long as you need. John smiled, genuinely happy at my words. Patricia is still a part of me. But thanks to Mary, I no longer have those nightmares about that day. I'll be happy, Patricia. Is something wrong? No, nothing. Let's go. And so, I went to New Horizons with Mary. I believe I can be happy with her,